Update: am I the butthole for not allowing my sister near my bearded dragon after doing a TikTok trend with him? Original post: hello. So sorry I haven't been on in a while, things have been very busy for me, but I'm here with an update. So after my last post and getting all your feedback, I had ordered a lock for Phil's tank and put it on once I got it so that my sister couldn't just get him. I waited a bit to see if my sister would apologize, but she didn't. So I sat down both my parents and sister to go over again why I wasn't allowing her to see Phil and how what she did was not okay. I had made a slideshow and everything about how putting butter on bearded dragons was in fact not a harmless trend. I told her that I wasn't mad at her for doing it since she didn't know, but I was upset over how she reacted. It took a lot of explaining, and I even used some advice you guys gave me on how to best explain it, and after a lot of talking and a bit of arguing it seemed they finally all got it. My sister got upset and apologized to me for how she reacted and seemed genuinely upset after she realized what she did to Phil. My parents also apologized for not taking my side and scolding me for what rules I set in place. The lock is still staying on the tank just in case, but my sister is now allowed to see him and play with him if she asks me, and she's not allowed to make any more videos of Phil without me being there to watch. She seems a bit irritated about the rules, but she follows the rules. I also got her to take down the video off of TikTok, and she ended up making a video on how what she did was stupid and that to not do what she did, which I'm very pleased with. She has gone back to making her harmless videos of Phil just running and playing, and all is going well now. I also want to thank Reddit again for the advice and reassurance that what I was doing wasn't wrong, since I honestly was pretty lost at that time. Phil is also doing well and he appreciates all the compliments of the picture I posted. He knows he's a handsome boy, so he's happy to have gotten the appreciation he deserves. Edit: people were asking for more photos, so here. Photos of Phil. Web link. I know people are saying how it's a pain in the ass that you had to make a slideshow to get your fam to listen, and they aren't wrong, but I think it's amazing that you got your 15-year-old sister to not only apologize but publicly post on her account saying she was wrong and spreading awareness that that trend can be harmful to bearded dragons. I know she was being a pain, but I think it's worth acknowledging what a tremendous amount of self-awareness it takes for a teenager to not only apologize for being wrong, and mean it, but to publicly post they were wrong. I know grown-ass adults that are literally incapable of that. Honestly, good on your sister and good on you for being willing to take the time to really explain the harm she inadvertently could have caused. Absolutely this. Very few people will ever admit they were wrong and apologize. It sucks that it took so long for them to come around, but the fact that they actually did come around is pretty remarkable. I really don't understand why people struggle to apologize for things. It's such an easy way to resolve a conflict. It's really hard to admit that you're wrong sometimes. People tend to get very defensive when they're challenged, and apologizing sometimes feels like admitting defeat, no matter how untrue that is. Yup, I'm a bit older than most posters here, and it took me years to learn how to respect myself and others enough to know when to just drop it. I was raised by a dad who would call me a pussy for backing down from arguments. I wish it didn't take me so long to get rid of that negative conditioning. I was raised by a mother who didn't apologize, so I had to learn how to. It's easy when you bump into someone. I'm from the Midwest, so it's "ope. I'm so sorry." But bigger arguments, that's what I've really had to learn how to do. I hate that I've had to in my 20s, so I'm really glad for Op's younger sister. Though I'll admit I think it's bullcrap original poster had to go through such lengths to get her family to understand that what happened to her redragon is wrong. That really bothers me. But my mother always had me grief for a comment I made about one of my pets and how it could kill them, and in the end, it did. And she'll still make jokes about it. Sore subject perhaps, hey? I think there is also a fear that apologizing and admitting you did something wrong will lead to punishment and ridicule that exceeds the actual crime. I think it's because our society is pretty unforgiving about mistakes. We are a very punishment-forward culture as opposed to a reform-focused one. We send people to timeout or grounding them or prison, all things that take away their rights, when they do something wrong. I think that when people get accused they get worried that they'll be seen as a deserving criminal or something, so to be accused of doing something wrong is a lot harder to own up to because it's like admitting you're a bad person who deserves a punishment. I think also, is that people don't respond well when they're presented with just problems. They need a solution to follow up the announcement of the problem in order for them to feel okay. If the only plan of action is punishment and there is no other solution, they'll resist. As soon as people understand that they're not actually in trouble, that there is a solution and the solution isn't to punish you but to just make sure we get it right moving forward, it suddenly becomes not about them and their failures or them being bad people, but about the actual issue at hand. They can respond better to that, knowing it's not personal, knowing they're not in trouble, and knowing there's something they can do to make it work. My own parents are like this when I ask who did something that led to something breaking or being lost. My dad always lies and says it wasn't him and gets defensive, and then the whole conversation turns into an argument about accusations, and it takes a while to move on to the important part, where we actually find a solution to the problem. But when it's my mom, she just says she did it, explains what happened, and I say, oh man, that sucks, next time let's try it this way, or yeah, it was supposed to be done this way, and my mom will be like, yeah, makes sense. Because my mom doesn't have as big of an ego about it, it's easier to jump past the accusations and taking responsibility part and just focus on the solution. I know exactly what you mean. I always apologize and my husband doesn't. It's now a joke in our house. Yep, I am forever reminding my husband that admitting you were wrong and that you are sorry does not equals admitting you are a bad person who doesn't deserve love. I needed to read this. I think it's because people look at this stuff as a fight with winners and losers, and they feel like admitting they were wrong is admitting you lost the argument. No one likes losing. Agreed. I've had experiences with lots of people who struggle with this. Some really great people, they just automatically go on the defense whenever challenged. Often, they will double down so heavily that the situation ends up being worse than it needed to be. Then when they've been rude enough that they understand an apology is required, and offer it, it's much harder to accept. I obviously can't speak for all people, and this isn't the case for anyone, but I struggle with this. My dad is an abusive alcoholic. Everything I have ever done in my life is wrong. Sometimes just existing in a space was wrong. From the time I was about 10, I was always being attacked, never on sure ground, and often felt the need to defend myself. When I was 15, if I had been in a situation like this, I don't know that I would have apologized. I would have defended myself. I didn't know that was bad, I didn't mean anything by it, I wasn't trying to hurt him, etc. Even for minor things like, hey, the fridge wasn't closed all the way, my reaction was to defend myself. It didn't matter if the person was super nice or super nasty, I felt like I needed to defend myself. After years of practice and therapy and coping mechanism, I learned how to just apologize. Sometimes if I'm having a really bad mental health day, I slip back into defensive mode. I can recognize it as it's coming out of my mouth and have to stop talking, take a deep breath, and then apologize. It helps that I have a bunch of people in my life now that understand me, are patient with me, and are willing to gently guide me when I F up. Since I have a teenager now, I've made it a point to have conversations like this with her, to pull her aside later if I realize I was wrong and tell her, and stuff like that. Maybe that will help her not suffer the bullcrap I do. I constantly have to remind myself that not everyone is attacking me. So if you know someone with a trauma background that has a hard time apologizing, this could be why, and maybe they need help, either gentle guidance or professional help. It's frustrating. I see it a lot on here too. People don't want to admit they're wrong, which is in the same vein. I have zero problem with saying I was wrong, and I totally respect people more when they can do that. In this case, the person in the wrong was 15. It sounds like she's learning this super important skill and it will serve her well in the future. Other people didn't have people like Original Poster to teach them that skill. Plus she made amends. Too many people think sorry I was wrong is enough but never change their behavior, accept consequences, or repair the harm they did, and that's the most important part of an apology. Pride. Ego. Stubbornness. Butthole-ness. Apologizing isn't a thing in my family. I had to learn to do it as an adult in a relationship. We just get over things and move on, and that's why we are a bunch of passive-aggressive people. It's why I apologize to the children in my life, to model the proper behavior for them. Same. It's nothing off me, especially if it's customer service. It's a good quality because you know that your worth doesn't hang on tiny moments like this. You know that being able to admit your mistakes and own it to make it right is really what defines you. Yeah. The initial stubbornness is plausibly just teenager crap, bad in an adult but kind of meh. Removing the video was a basic meh apology. The public, I shouldn't have done that, and honestly no one should, and this is why, is an attempt to right the wrong. Which is the biggest part of an honest apology? Grumpy acceptance of the new rules, again, bad in a grown adult but maybe just teenager crap? Cooperating with the rules and still asking to safely engage with Phil instead of avoiding any more interaction/throwing a tantrum implies that she really 100% gets that the new rules are a fair reaction to her behavior. Thank you for the update. Just wanted to second this. I'm impressed with how well you managed this, and it's great to hear that you ended up with a really positive result, including an even stronger relationship with your parents and sister, by the sounds of it. I agree. My dad is kind of like this, and I have to give him proof of a lot of things before he believes me. It was really hurtful growing up, but I've come to accept it and now just prove things as early as possible. One thing that comes to mind is that he'd always call me too sensitive, like a lot of dads. He finally stopped when I showed him psych studies and stuff about it being harmful. My dad is this way too. It doesn't upset me the way it used to though, as I get he just doesn't understand and grew up with a very different mindset. With a lot of patience and just solid clear facts, he's changed a lot. Especially with regards to mental health. Although my favorite will always be when I had enough of him saying my son's ADHD is actually just parenting. I finally replied with Dad, I have ADHD, was it you or Mom who was the bad parent? And my mom spun on her chair, yes dear, who was the bad parent? Dad suddenly had work in his office somewhere. Nowadays he just asks questions that need to be backed up with solid facts and he'll come around. The bit about your mom made me chuckle. She was so ready, smiley face. Lol, she's 5 feet 2 inches, a full foot shorter than my dad, and he still ran for his office. She had that look too, just waiting for my dad to say something stupid. Smiley face, smiley face. Personally, I think the slideshow presentation was genius. Most people learn more with a visual aid than they do from someone just talking at them. Pictures of the damage caused by the trend would have greater emotional impact, and taking the time to put it all together really drives home how serious and passionate you are about your stance. But I made presentations for everything when I was a kid, so maybe I'm biased. It did get me those ferrets though. I agree. I understand that it's frustrating having to make something to show them, but it's not unreasonable for someone to ask for proof of what you're saying. I also made presentations when asking for things. And it's something I'm passing on because it's a useful life skill. Yeah. And really good on making the distinction you weren't mad it happened, since she didn't know, but at how she reacted. This is just good behavior all around from everyone here. It's like the opposite of ESH. Everyone's awesome here. People sometimes forget family is worth the pain in the ass, particularly if the effort is successful and legitimately improves the situation. How often do you get to educate your entire family unit and get to bask in the sweet, sweet joy of a genuine sibling apology? I'm really proud of both original poster and his sister for doing their parts here. What a happy ending. That is frustrating. You had to put in so much work just to make people understand that their actions could hurt a living thing. I am glad it all worked out for you though. You sound like a wonderful pet owner. Edit, grammar. Right? She had to make a freaking slideshow. Those family members didn't want to understand. I think they did understand and just wanted to hold their ground, but had no choice once the original poster wouldn't relent. I, too, would keep a lock in Phil's tank. Maybe the final slide could be instructions to slather themselves with butter and sit under a heat lamp. I was thinking about the 80s and how we'd slather ourselves with baby oil as bask in the sun. It's innocent and fun until a living creature could get hurt. Then it's just malicious and cruel. Good for you, original poster. Make sure the key to that lock is always secure. Oh, God, I got so burnt doing that one summer, the baby oil thing. In Texas, of all places. I could still see the marks of the sunburn literally 3 years later. Baby oil as tanning lotion goes back to the 50s/60s. An aunt in the family told me about her and friends going to the beach with it. They also added iodine for color to the oil. In the 90s, my sister literally, and liberally, used butter. I've always thought it strange humans like to cook themselves, but this is a whole new level. Stick a fork in me, Jerry, I'm done. Yeah, honestly, good on original poster for standing their ground. Yep, The only two ways to solve problems are communication and education, and original poster had to do a lot of both. It shouldn't have taken so much effort, but when people dig their heels in, it can be tough to pull them out. To be fair, it's hard for any person to admit when they are in the wrong. I know I pretty much suck at it, but I try to be better. I guess I just don't get this. Maybe it's undiagnosed autism. I don't know. But I will admit when I'm wrong. I'm fallible. Web link. My in-laws didn't believe that cat allergies were a real thing until I started allergy shots to deal with it and had a severe reaction. People are really hard to teach, sometimes. I would have had her spray her hand with cooking spray and then hold it under Phil's heat lamp for an hour to drive the point home. What kind of people can't understand what's clearly animal abuse? Seriously. I don't get why it could have badly hurt or killed him isn't enough to make people like that understand the seriousness of the situation. This is life though, especially in a work environment. Original poster has learned very valuable skills here. Your first sentence just described being vegan. Downvotes to the right. I'm sure there are probably things that you do that annoy others or may even open up potential harm to others, you just don't realize it. It's less about needing to do that and more about the reaction of the people once he did end up letting them know, which was super positive. I wouldn't have understood why putting butter on a bearded dragon was bad either, and I probably would have thought that the owner was mad that I was just messing with the bearded dragon. My mom says crap like that all the time for other stuff. Don't do that, it could underscore which isn't true, she just doesn't want me to do something. People are like that sometimes. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.